let's get into our next topic. And this is going to be another very, very powerful, important subject for us to go over and discuss, okay? Basically, what we're going to start to look at now is what I like to call forcing of the half guard, all right? So basically, we're not going into the half guard on his terms, the person on bottom's terms, with them getting underhooks and getting, inside and underneath us, all right? We're forcing the half guard on our terms, where we have the underhook, we have the control, we're flattening them and making them resist and try to fight us off, trying to push, bench press us off. It's going to add to our pressure game greatly, staying inside, controlling their hips, and really wearing them down. And this is a very good strategy to pass virtually every kind of guard there is. If the person's flexible, they like spider guard, upside down style stuff. If we can force half guard, it doesn't matter how flexible, how good you are at inverting or anything like that, because you're going to be flat and you're going to be getting smashed. And the main thing we're going to look to do from there is, once again, pass directly to mount, really, trying to just dismantle their guard and, demoralize the person on bottom and get us to the most dominant position in jiu-jitsu right off the bat. For competition purposes, forcing the half guard is a great strategy, because it's very hard to pass a lot of people's guards with the level of the guards that are being played now directly to side control. They're too good at defending, they're too good at going upside down. But if we can just get to the half guard, which a lot of times I like to refer as half mount, okay, we're going to put a positive outlook on that for the man on top. We are halfway to mount. If we can get to the half guard, then we've simplified it by very much, okay, the process of passing their guard. And that will give us an advantage in the competition scenario. So it's a good way to, kind of have that advantage in the bag in case the score ends up tied. We know that we have our advantages for forcing half guard. So I can't go on enough on how powerful and how great this strategy is for passing the guard. We're going to go back to the headquarters position and look at how we can enforce the strategy from there, okay? So we're inside. Okay, everything just like before. We have our wall, foot's deep, neutralizing the legs. There is a very, open door for me to take to start to force the half guard, and once again continue putting serious pressure on the person on bottom. Okay, what I'm gonna do, instead of holding his collar here, I'm gonna start to place my right hand on the floor, okay, on the mat. All right, just more or less getting an underhook, okay, from here. All right. Now with my other arm, I'm going to use the inside of my forearm and hand on his knee, okay, right on the inside of his knee here, all right? Now, in one motion, I'm going to sprawl back and start to direct myself to the left, okay? And whenever I come down, my right side of my body, my chest and my shoulder, is going to connect to the right side of his body. So it's important to understand you're not going to go straight down. If you can imagine a line from his nose down to his belly button, my weight and my body is going to be shifted to the right side of that line, okay, on his right side, my left, all right? So I'm not going to be over here at all right? This will give strength in his hooking leg, okay? So I'm here, my arms are in position, I'm going to sprawl back and adjust my weight, putting the right side of my chest to the right side of his chest, okay? So my legs come back and I drop down. Now notice, when I drop down, I didn't go really low, okay? Here, his arms are going to have a lot of space to come in, and he can move and, maybe generate some offense, give me a hard time. When I come down, picture being almost ear to ear, okay? I want to take my head very far forward, all right? So it's a lot harder for those arms to come in my way, and my weight is just centered on him. And you see, when I came down, his leg became pinned to the mat right here, all right? So I'm already starting to work my way in. And this is a forcing of the half guard, because at this point, for him to keep his guard, he has to hook my leg. He has to hook my right leg. Otherwise, he's not going to have anything, okay? This is what he's left to, deal with, all right? So now, I want to start to get my way in, okay? Once again, we're going to have elbows in our way, okay? This elbow right here. So once I'm this far, my next move will be to adjust my hand from his leg to his arm, okay? To open his elbow and allow me to start to bring my knee into his armpit and ribs, okay? And you'll see when I make that motion, my head starts to now come over to the other side of his body, okay? After I get this far, I'm going to take control of his head, okay? Getting the cross-face control, and I like to hold kind of at the shoulder here, okay? So I have, 100% use of my shoulder against his face, all right? Now, if we turn, you'll see that even though I'm getting inside and I'm here, he can still have room to move, okay? He's still somewhat on his side. And if I don't do anything about this, he can start to shrimp out, get more space, start to pummel in, and get to a good half guard position, okay? So I mentioned this already in some of our other techniques, but it's the center principle, okay, of flattening him, going back to the center, okay? And this is another position where you're going to see that same concept come into play, okay? So whenever I'm here, I got my knee in, I take control of the head, then my next movement is just going to be to take a step to the center with my right leg, okay, towards the middle, making him completely flat, all right? So I'm gonna take a step with my right foot towards that side, okay? And you'll see how now he's completely flat, okay? And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and work my forearm and elbow on the inside of his thigh, just like this, all right? And now my next movement is gonna be towards mounting him directly, okay? It's kind of, once again, the ultimate thing we can do in jiu-jitsu. Pass directly to mount, 7-point move, and, just really demoralizes the guy on bottom, okay? It's pure domination, all right? So I'm here. Now I'm going to switch my hip, okay? Now you're going to see that I don't sit on the mat. Whenever I switch my hip, so my knee comes in, I take his head, step to the center, my elbow and forearm's in, I don't sit to the mat. Okay? We never want to come to the mat where our weight is off him and makes it easier for him to move away. So I stay here, directly inside. Okay? I'm not big and spread out. I'm kind of crunched with lots of shoulder pressure. My hip's not on the mat. And I just work on freeing my knees. So now all he has is my foot in the half guard. Okay? And my foot is very high at his butt. Alright, let's look at this angle here. So, come in, take the head, center step, twist my hip, and you see how I walk my foot up all the way towards his butt. Okay? Now, I'm ready to mount. So, from here, one detail on going to the mount, don't go straight up. Look at the space between my hip and his body. For the half guard guys, this will give them the room they need to bring their arm between your legs and get underneath. So when I drive my knee over, I'm going to go more horizontal here, just like this, okay? So my hip is very low connected to his body, okay? And as my knee comes down, I know this hand's going to be wanting to block my leg, which is going to give me the underhook that I want, all right? So now I can take this underhook, walk it up until I can connect it with my other hand or grab his head. So I'm here. I can grab his head or make the connection with my hands. Now I'm going to finish off with that smash, okay? I'm going to make it a little hard for him to breathe in here, okay? My shoulder, my chest is right in his face. I'm going to make it very uncomfortable, and from here I can come forward and use my other foot to free my leg, big toes in, and achieve the mount position, okay? So you've seen the details. Let's run through it one more time. Hand in position, okay, on the mat, arm inside the leg. We sprawl down on the outside half of his body. My right chest and shoulders coming down towards his right chest and shoulder, head to head. Open the arm, knee in. Take the head, grab the shoulder, center step. Arm inside the leg, twist the hip without sitting on the floor, walk the foot up at the butt. Drive the knee over horizontally. Take that underhook right there. You can clasp, or a lot of times I like to hold the head. That way when he tries to pull his elbow down, it kind of locks on to his head, okay? My hand. Shoulder pressure, smother, forward, use your foot to free, stabilize, you're in position to attack. One time regular speed. We force the half guard, pass directly to mount, making his life very, very difficult in the process, and getting our 7 points. We're in the best position in jiu-jitsu, besides from maybe the back, and from there we can finish. Right. In our next technique, we're going to look at forcing the half guard again, this time from the butterfly hook position, okay? As we already looked at before, from the side smash, when they do a good job of defending and escaping, many times we're going to land in their butterfly guard. And you already have one option working with the weave pass, okay? Now we're going to talk about forcing the half guard from the butterfly, all right? So, for example, we'll say that I managed to get into the side smash. I ran into some good defense here with his arms. He does a good job of shrimping out and getting space. And the knee comes out, and I come and land into his butterfly, all right? So, with the butterfly, keep in your mind that this is good for us on top, okay? I don't want to be here and back off and allow him to get his legs back in front and give me so much more to deal with, okay? Whenever he's flat and we're inside on his hips, we're past his knees, we're past his feet. The only thing in our way right now is going to be his arms. And our body, you know, the leverage that we're going to create when we force his half guard, it's going to be way too much for his arms to deal with, okay? So, we're starting in the butterfly. Now, we're going to do very similar approach as before with, you know, if I split his body, me shifting and putting the right side of my body onto the right side of his body, okay? But I have a little more to deal with now with both of his hooks. So it's even more important that my weight and positioning is perfect so I don't possibly get swept over, all right? So let's start to break this down. We'll show this in a few different angles. But from here, I'm going to keep my arms in, just as like I have underhooks. This will allow me to choose either direction, okay? Now I'm going to start to bring my forearm and hand on the inside of the leg, very similar to before. Now I'm going to use my toes, spring forward, and go to that angle, okay? And once again, this is going to take some time in figuring out where you're going to be heaviest, all right? Finding that right spot, okay? So as I shift and go, you see my right side's at his right side. My head is very close to his head, and I'm controlling his leg here. So all he has is this left hook, and it's at the point where he could lose it just by a simple twisting of my hips, okay? Let's look at that movement from the reverse. I'm here, I get my arms in position. You see how I'm on my toes. I'm not back, okay? I'm on my toes, I'm forward, and I'm ready to move up and over, okay? So I'm on my toes right here, and I shift right side of my body and the right side of his body, head next to his head, and I'm right here with my hip low. I'm not high up with my butt where he can lift me very easily, okay? I'm kind of sagging on his hook, putting a lot of weight and pressure onto his hook with his heel into his butt. Now all I need to do is one simple movement where I'm going to straighten my right side of my body and twist my hip, okay? And at this point, this is the forcing of the half guard because he's going to lose that hook and he's going to be forced into controlling my leg with his right leg and allowing me to come into his half guard, okay? From there, everything's going to be the same, except we're going to look at a different way of controlling with our arm instead of controlling his head, okay? So, I come forward, arm in position in his leg, my hips low, heavy on his hook, I twist. He lost the hook. He's now forced into putting me in the half guard. From here, we open the elbow, we come in. Now, many times, they're going to give us a hard time with achieving the cross-face control, okay? He's blocking my arm very well, all right? So what I'm going to do is kind of act like I'm looking for his head, kind of bring my arm up a little bit, and I'm going to circle under his arm, giving myself the near side underhook. Okay? This is going to be very strong in shutting down the half guard players, because now this arm won't be able to come through and hook between my legs. So I have a good control here, and I like to just grab the back of the collar and still use my shoulder and everything else as if it was a crossface. And now that arm is completely neutralized. Everything else is the same. Center step, switch, walk our foot up. Now when I take this underhook here, I will have a double underhook position, which is going to be very strong and allowing me to break my foot free and land in a great position to finish immediately from the mount. Let's go a little more full speed here. Starting the side smash. He escapes. We stay inside. Break the hook. And once again, mounting from the half guard, this time with just a different control. Instead of his head, the near side underhook, perfect for shutting down the half guard players. Okay, now once again, we're going to start in the butterfly position, working on forcing the half guard, and we're going to look at a different way that we can control the person on bottom while we're inside the half, okay? So we had the cross face, we had the near side underhook, now we're going to look at what I call the cross shoulder, okay? So we landed in the butterfly, on our toes, everything's the same, up and forward, controlling, we break the hook. We open, we start to come inside, okay? Now, as I've said before, sometimes we're going to run into problems with these arms looking to block our cross-face arm, okay? So I have a few different things I can do, besides for the near side underhook, we can look for what I call the cross-shoulder control. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look to circle my arm through and swing it over his shoulder, okay, in front of his face, okay? So I'm going to circle through and swing it over. Now, as my arm goes, my hip is going to follow. Okay? You'll see how the left side of my hip is at his shoulder, and my left elbow is at his shoulder on the other side. So my elbow to my hip is almost a straight line across his upper body. Okay? It's very important that whenever we switch to the cross-shoulder control, that once again, we do not put our hip on the floor, okay? You've heard me talk about that numerous times now. We always want to keep our weight on our opponent on bottom, okay? Never on the floor. So I'm here, I do not want to switch and come to the mat. He's going to have so much space on the other side to shrimp out and start to get inside and possibly look to enter into a strong half guard position. So, pay attention to the hip again. Whenever my arm comes through, my hip follows, and it's on his shoulder, okay? Exactly where it should be, nice and heavy, and I'm inside on his body, okay? I'm not on the mat, all right? From here, everything's going to be virtually the same, all right? One other note, my elbow is at the shoulder. Really pay attention to that. I'm not by his ear, where this arm can be very powerful and pushing me off, or even as an underhook, making me lose my center of gravity off of his body, okay? So my elbow is at his shoulder and tricep area. My hip is at the armpit. From here now, I still look to free and walk my foot up to his butt here. So all he has is the bottom part of my leg, and my knee is ready to drive over to the mount position, okay? As I drive over, once again, kind of that horizontal angle, hip is low in his body. From here, once again, I'm going to look to take this underhook and switch my arm back to the head control at the end, all right? So now I can smother, dominate, free, and achieve the mount position. So let's stay here. We force, we come in, he gives us problems, We swim through, elbow at the hip and, at the shoulder and tricep, and my hip down at the armpit and shoulder on the other side. And here I'm working on this leg, okay? Driving it down, walking my foot up, driving my knee over, taking the underhook right here. Bring this arm back over, control, okay? Lots of upper body pressure. Use the foot inside the thigh and free our leg. One other variation that's going to be very much the same. Let's go to the end, right here. Instead of coming over this arm, we can also come under the arm with our elbow, okay? Now I have a very nice clear path, no arms in my way, but once again, after I drop my knee, I'll switch to this underhook and head control to free my foot. So we can be over the arm or under the arm. So another option for our control inside the half guard on top or the half mount, okay? Working our way to the mount position and dealing with any kind of arm defense that he throws our way. Okay guys, we're going to go back to the butterfly guard position again, and we're going to be looking to start our forcing the half guard game. But we'll say, for instance, the guy, he has a good butterfly guard, maybe has big feet like myself, okay, and he keeps a very strong hook on the inside of our leg, and we're having some problems on breaking that hook to get into the half guard, all right? So we're going to do a little variation using the shin to shin position and look to pass straight to side control, okay? So we're staying on the hip, we start to come up, everything's looking good, but we're going to say that, like I said, he has a very strong hook, and maybe he's being a little stubborn, not wanting to defend with his arms, and he's really just looking to kind of use it to go into a sweep, okay? So a real common scenario will be for him to want to grab my belt with his left hand and look to start to lift and look to try to, sweep me over to my left, okay? But he's being very insistent on this hook, so I can do a little variation of control to help me break that hook directly and pass straight to side control, okay? So when I'm here, normally when we break that hook and we slide through, this leg is in our way and we land in the half guard as what we've been doing, okay? What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to take my heel towards my butt and I'm going to put myself in what I call the shin to shin position, okay? So my leg is directly on top of his right leg, okay? Just like this, all right? Now, as I feel him struggling, trying to use that hook when I'm here, whenever I twist or break my hip from here, you'll see how now I'm not going to land in the half guard, okay? I've gone completely past his legs. From here, once again, I'm going to inch and bring myself up, knowing that he might still be on his side. From there, I'll extend my leg back against his leg, hip to hip, going to side control, okay? Very similar motion on the stabilization as what we looked at before, all right? Let's look at the reverse of this. So, everything's the same. We get started. He's being very insistent on trying to use this hook. We're keeping our hip very low. I'm going to turn my leg over to where I'm like shin to shin, okay? My right leg is over across his right leg. Now when I look to twist my hip, you'll see how that completely kills his guard and I'm all the way past his legs. From here, I'll look to start to scoot up towards his shoulder with my knee and then drive my leg straight in his body and allow me to stabilize the side control. Okay? One more time. Regular speed. So another way that we can put an intense amount of pressure on his butterfly guard, making him carry our body with that one foot, and just a little different angle change, way we use our legs to help us pass directly to side control. Okay guys, so now once again we're going to look at forcing the half guard and talking about a very common scenario that happens once inside the half guard. When we're looking to mount, we're going to say that maybe he was able to replace his butterfly guard hook in, and from there it can give us a lot of problems. It's a very common scenario, could possibly get us swept, or at the very least cause us to lose the position. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're talking about here. So I got inside, I force half guard once again, I start to get the head control, center him up. I'm looking to mount from here, but a lot of people are very flexible and have very good legs and are able to get this hook back inside, okay? From here, I'm in danger of possibly getting swept over or losing my balance enough where I lose the position, all right? And this is definitely going to be a strong, barrier in our way from working our way to mount, okay? So, first thing I want to do whenever this happens is to get off this foot, okay? Because when I'm on this foot, my leg is very light. Easy for him to lift it up and start to check my base and balance a little bit, okay? So I'm going to start to bring my knee down towards the floor. Now you might not be able to get it all the way to the floor depending on how much of his strength he's putting into that leg, but I want to at least try to put it to the floor. So now the leg that he's hooking is a lot heavier, okay? Now from here, what we have to understand is that the power of his hook is coming actually from the other leg, okay? His ability to post and drive off this leg will give this hook a lot of power, okay? So my main concern now, once I get as heavy as I can on this leg, is to neutralize the other leg, okay? I don't want to allow him to be able to lift his hip up with his hook using the other leg, all right? So watch from the reverse. Once I get heavy on this hook leg, and we're about here, this is the leg that's going to allow him to get a lot of leverage for that hook. So I'm going to bring my leg through and grapevine that other leg, okay? Hooking that leg, taking his foot off the mat, and taking away all his power for this hooking leg. At this point, that feeling of desperation is going to come over him again, and I'm going to work on opening his knee, taking it down to the mat, and then swallowing it with my leg. Just like this, all the while using good shoulder pressure and passing straight to mount. Okay? So this side again. We got into the half guard. We're working our way to mount. He inserts his butterfly hook. Heavy on that leg. Neutralize the other leg with the grapevine. Okay? Now notice how I don't, once again, take a step and try to step over, allowing this leg to lift up. Okay? I'm staying heavy on it. I'm staying low, smothering. I'm going to pin it down to the side, and then I'm going to push it down and let my other leg swallow his leg. From here, I can look to take that underhook and establish mount control. So, a very common scenario of what we're going to run into when we force the half guard, especially someone that's comfortable there and is good at using their hooks to get underneath. And right away, we're going to look to get heavy on that leg, neutralize his power leg for his hook, and once again, pass straight to mount, not taking our weight off, but smothering the person on bottom and getting that 7 points and that mount control that we want. All right, everyone. The next topic we're going to discuss is we're going to start to look at, kind of the what if on whenever we're working our way towards mount and they have a really strong half guard lock on our ankle and foot, okay? I know about this probably better than just about everyone because I have size 13, 14 feet, okay? And there's so many times where I'm trying to mount someone, but they just have my foot locked, and you have a hard time freeing that leg to get the full mount. Okay, so it's a very common thing. Let's talk about our options from there. First one's going to be very simple, very basic, where we're just going to use the cross knee in combination with the passing straight to mount. Okay, so everything's going great, all right? But sometimes you're trying to mount someone, and if it's a competition scenario, maybe you don't have the time that it takes to free that foot. Maybe you only have a minute. You need to get that 3 points. You need to get that pass. There's a number of different scenarios where this could come up where you would rather go to the cross knee and take the side control instead of the mount. But I'm always going to try to mount first, okay? So we're in. We force the half guard. We get all our control. Center step. We drive over. But this lock on our foot is just so strong, okay? Maybe you try to use your foot. You can't get a good leverage on it to open his leg. And you're just kind of stuck, okay? Very common scenario, especially with the ones that are comfortable with the half guard and know how to use their legs properly under there, okay? So from here, all I'm going to do is look to go back the other direction, okay? So instead of using my arm as the cross face now, I'm going to bring my head over to the other side, okay? And my head is almost going to act like a cross face. I literally want it right next to his head. From here, I'm going to go ahead and control his other arm just by holding the sleeve. And I'm going to start to lift my hip up and redirect my knee to the other side, going to the cross knee pass. So I'll make sure to turn my knee out, stay hip to hip, start to peel my leg free, and then once again, driving our hip and leg back against his leg to make him flat and give us the side control, okay? Very basic 1-2 combination that you're going to use a lot, especially when you don't have the time that it takes to work your foot out, okay? So again, we get in, we start to go, we try to mount, our foot is stuck, can't get it out, so we redirect, bring our head to the other side, okay? Remember the shoulder, the right side to the right side, okay? Right here. Control the other arm, hip up, redirect your knee out to the other side. Immediately now drop the hip, peel your leg out, drive back in, take the side control. Very basic combination, an excellent option for you whenever your foot is stuck. You have big feet, you can't mount, you're stuck in there, and you don't have the time it takes to smother and work your foot free. You got to pass right away, cut back to the other side. Okay guys, let's go back to the same scenario where we're looking to mount, but our foot is stuck. But this time, he's going to get himself into a much better position underneath there, all right? A position to where if we don't do anything, he could transition into the deep half guard and give us a lot of problems, okay? So let's take a look. We reach the half guard. We're looking to mount, but he gets his arms in good defensive position here where he's blocking my hip and he's on his side, so now my cross face pressure is not near the same, okay? He's tight here. It's going to be much harder for me to come back for the cross knee. And if I don't do anything right away, he can bump and create the space to throw his arm between my legs and get to a good deep half guard position, which is not half mount, okay? That's not the kind of half guard that we want him to have, all right? So when I'm here and I feel that he has developed this sort of frame with his arms blocking my hip, I'm going to come down, okay? So I'm going to take my left knee on this side and I'm going to put it below his butt. Okay, so you'll see now how I've come down below, centering my hips right on his hips, okay? From here, I'm going to open my knee, all right? I want to open my knee so the hip contact and pressure is complete, okay? I don't want there to be any space between my legs and his body, okay? Right here, all right? Now, he's still on his side, okay? So I want to roll him out a little bit. I'm going to kind of back up and use my chest to drive him flat. As I do that, I'm going to kick and sprawl my legs back. breaking the grip that he has on my foot. From here, you'll see I'm right back into the side smash, okay? Now, my angle is a little parallel where I'm straight on the same line as him. So I'm going to immediately create my 45-degree angle, hip heavy on the top knee and on the shoulder. And now I can look to work my way right back to the mount using the side smash position. So, again, we've developed all the way to this point where we're looking to mount, but he gets good arm positioning here, starts to work his way onto the side. Once again, if I don't do anything, very good chance I'm going to land in a deep half guard against a deep half guard player, okay? So immediately we've got to come down, all right? So my left knee circles below his butt, and now I'm much lower on his body. Open your knee, okay? Just like this. From here, start to roll them out using your upper body, and I'm going to sprawl and kick my leg free so it comes out from between his legs, okay? From here, I just have to develop my 45 here. Remember, we take our time in the side smash, always paying attention to what he's giving us, but our number one goal is to open and work our way back to the mount, okay? This can also happen in kind of the opposite. Another time I'll use this, a good deep half guard player is very good at escaping mount and eventually getting into the half guard. So the second my foot gets stuck, if he was escaping from the mount, and I feel like he has the proper arm defense to get underneath me, I will come down and use the same thing kind of in reverse. Going from mount to him escaping, to shutting down his escape, opening our knee, kicking our leg out, developing our side smash position, and then remounting, which will give us 4 more points. So we have to be very important that when we're forcing the half guard looking to mount, someone that is very comfortable there and able to slide underneath and get into the deep half guard can give us problems. And this is one of the strongest ways to deal with that, taking our hips below their body and looking to smash them yet again from the side smash and remount. Okay guys, now we're going to follow up on the last scenario where, our foot was stuck. He starts to get good arm positioning defending us, and in fact, he's starting to make it to the next level of getting his arm between our legs, all right? And if it's not something that we deal with right away, once again, he's going to put us in that deep half and, slow us down and take away our ability to pass to mount, okay? So, once again, we got here. Of course, it starts with him developing good arm defensive positioning here, blocking my hip, all right? Then the next thing is for him to start to bring his right arm between our legs, okay, just like this. So what's going to happen is, as I start to bring my knee below his butt and he finds the space to start to bring his arm in, if I don't do anything, once again, he's going to bump us forward and get underneath, okay? So the good thing is my knee is below his butt. So there's a period where it's just his arm just trying to fish its way in. As soon as I feel it coming in between my legs, I'm going to use my right hand and I'm going to kind of go right into his shoulder and neck, making a little post, all right? With my left arm, I'm going to come around and underneath his arm, and I'm going to make a frame and grab my right wrist, okay? So now I'm kind of blocking just enough, keeping him from getting even deeper, okay? So just for now, all he has is that arm between my legs. And this here is going to make it hard for him to bump me forward because now I have my hand in his neck, okay? Now, from here, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to work on opening my knee out once again, and I'm going to give him a little kind of tug, pulling his arm up. So as I open my knee, I'm going to kind of tug up, and my left arm is going to knock his arm out from between my legs, all right? At this moment, once I open him up, you'll see how now the front of his chest and arm is open, so I can immediately drop down and be in front of that arm and keep it from coming back in, okay? From here, I'll continue on. I'll start to sprawl, free my foot, develop my side smash, and work our way back to mount yet again, all right? So, again, they have our foot trapped. We start to go down, but he manages to get his arm inside just like this, okay? A very tricky guy is going to get from here straight to good sweeping position if we don't deal with it right away. So I'm going to post my hand. I can even kind of grab his chunk of his gi here, okay, right in front of his neck. Come through, under his arm, and grab the wrist, okay, creating this frame, this post. Now he's not going to be able to bump me up. Go and kind of bump a little bit. You see how I don't really move? I'm blocking him and keeping his arm from getting even deeper. Open the knee and just pull this up a little bit. As soon as it's free, drop down. Look, my elbow to the lower back. Now I'm in front, keeping him from reinserting that arm. Now we sprawl, free our foot, develop our side smash, and mount. Another option, going back to a technique we looked at before, sometimes after we post and we free this arm, we can come around and kind of make him feel that he has that underhook again. And then guess what? We're back in monoplotted position, okay? So whenever I break the grip he has on my leg, I can circle around his arm to where that arm is under as like an underhook. And then we take our big step, foot tight behind his back and shoulder, anchoring, neutralize the other arm, step over, and back to our monoplotted finish. So, we know what to do now when they insert the arm between our legs, getting even closer to putting us in the deep half guard. Immediately we're going to block them, get rid of that arm between our legs, look to re-smash, or possibly give him a nice little sneaky setup to the monoplotted position where we can finish. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to look at while we're trying to mount and our foot is stuck is just attacking submissions, okay? It's one thing I want to kind of put into your all's minds right now is whenever they're holding on to our foot, there's no rule or law that says that we have to pass all the way before we can start to attack, okay? His neck is going to be very exposed in that position, especially when they start using their arms down at your hips, okay? So the first attack we're going to look at is the Ezekiel choke. So I force the half guard, I drive over, and you know, I see his arms are down low, okay? He has my foot. Of course, we talked about the ways to deal with breaking the foot free, but once again, like I said, there's no rule that says I need to get my foot out before I start attacking subs. And right here is a very good time when his arms are down here and he's looking to block and defend your hip and keep you from mounting, okay? So for the Ezekiel, I already have exactly what I need. I have my arm around his head, okay? All I need to do now is insert my 4 fingers inside my sleeve on the other side, and from here, I'm going to start to circle my arm under his chin, okay? And a lot of times, I'll bend my fingers just like this, so it's a little easier for it to slide in, okay? Not a full fist and not straight out where he can kind of grab and block your fingers, okay? Just kind of like this to help me circle inside. And once I come and I feel that I'm inside his chin and I'm on his neck, I need to adjust and move my grip across to where it's directly next to his neck. And then from here, we'll do the same motion where we extend and slide our arm down towards the wrist. So I'm here, I circle my arm inside, take away the space. From here, I can slide my knee up a little bit so I have the leverage to sit up and extend my arm, achieving the submission, okay? So again, we were here, he's hugging onto our foot. You know, this is a very great option whenever we weren't able to get that underhook, okay? When we drove our knee over, we couldn't get the underhook. Immediately, I'm gonna grab 4 fingers in, circle my hand inside, take out the slack, raise my knee up just a little bit so I can sit up and extend and achieve the submission, okay? And the other thing this will help you do by attacking is opening up the space for you to get your foot free, okay? So if I'm down here, his eyes, he's looking towards my hands. Many times when I start to grab my sleeve and look for this choke, his arms are going to come up to protect his neck, getting his arms off my hip, off my legs, allowing me to circle under, get that underhook I need, and then break free and pass to mount. All right, so once again, it's almost like a double attack, okay? If he stays there insistent on trying to escape, very likely I'm going to get the submission. If he realizes he's in trouble, he allows me to get that underhook and then have a stronger position to free my foot and mount. So once again, right there, don't be scared to put in your mind to start attacking his neck and allowing yourself, either to achieve the submission or make them defend the submission and pass to the mount. Okay guys, let's look at another way that we can become submission hungry and attack their neck even while we're still technically inside their guard and they have our foot hooked, okay? So, we're in this scenario right here where he is really focused on blocking my hip and defending the mount position. I was unable to get that underhook as I drove my knee over, and he has some decent defense right here, okay? Now we're gonna look at attacking just a basic cross choke, okay? So I'm here. Normally, I'm holding at his shoulder, so my shoulder has the most pressure possible. Whenever I put in my mind that I want to attack the cross choke, I'm going to adjust my grip to just having a thumb in control behind his head, okay? And I see he's working on my leg. From here, I'm going to rotate my arm off his head, and immediately I'm going to start to drive my elbow down, okay? This is going to help me to flatten him, and it's going to help me stop his defense, okay? His defense being circling his arm inside, okay? So I want to make sure I drop my elbow so there's no space for that, and I'm flattening him. I'm driving his shoulders down. Now from here, I want to start to cinch this grip, okay? He's still continuing to fight to control my leg, so I have enough time and enough availability to work to make this as tight as possible. So I'm going to stay low. I'm going to let him stay pushing on my legs, and I'm going to grab that same collar with my 4 fingers, and I'm going to cinch this even further, okay? Driving my arm deep across his neck. Now at this point, when I drop my elbow down again, it's already going to start to choke him a little bit. It's going to be very uncomfortable, okay? At this point, you can get a number of different reactions, all right? The ones who are very concerned of their neck and getting choked will many times start to bring their arms up to your arm and look to defend. And a very common defense, when you have the arm in, is for them to look to bridge you over. Well, in order for him to bridge, he's going to have to let go of my hook and allow me to have the mount position. And then I can base to defend his bridge if he does bridge, settle in, take my mount, get my 7 points, and attack his neck whenever I feel ready. All right? If he just, some people are like, man, I had that leg. They don't want to get their guard past. They feel comfortable. They feel secure in holding that leg and keeping as much guard as they possibly can. After I cinch, I'm ready to go. Let him keep hold of that leg. Go ahead and bring the other arm over, okay? This hand, I'm just going to grab a chunk of his gi. Both my palms are down on this one, okay? So it's important that you remember the details and the leverage of the cross choke where our elbows slide across our ribs, okay? Make sure that you're not opening your elbows out like this. So after I'm all cinched, he's trying to keep hold of our leg. I'm going to get my second grip, chunk of the gi on the top of his shoulder here, start to drop my head down and squeeze along my ribs to get the choke, okay? Sometimes from there, maybe then he'll let go. And we'll continue to base with our head and finish. If you ever feel vulnerable of getting rolled over, you can always let go and base and look to reset, okay? So, once again, we were here. We got our knee down. We didn't get the underhook. I'm going to adjust my hand from grabbing his chunk of his gi on his shoulder to getting the thumb in control behind his neck. Okay, from here, this is especially good if he's really getting on his side, he's starting to turn, I circle my arm off, and I flatten him back down. All right, now, but there's still space, okay? So remember, come down, pull, take the slack out of that gi. All right, so now we're really tight. And like I said, if I wanted to really drop my arm down, I can start to get the choking effect right from here, which is sort of what I want, okay? Because I want the timing from when I put my second hand in to the time he is forced to tap to be very small, okay? So from here, like I said, we'll look for the reaction he gives. Maybe he lets go, and he lets me kick my leg out to mount, but always be ready to base, okay? We don't want to get rolled over. Or if he stays there, which I would say 80-90% of the time, they don't want to let go of that foot, they're going to give you their neck, okay? Other arm over, grab a chunk of that shoulder there, head goes down, squeeze along your ribs, and you get the submission and or the mount at the same time, depending on how he lets go to look to defend the choke, okay? So, very basic attack. It's going to give us that added bonus of the submission and the position as well, because more than likely, eventually at some point, he's going to want to let go of the foot, allow you to get the mount, but hopefully, we just make them tap and we get the choke even while we're still technically inside the guard. Alright guys, so throughout this series, we've been talking a lot about what our opponent's most likely reaction is going to be, okay? And with guard passing, we can really understand that and predict that pretty well, okay? Especially when we get to the ending point, when we beat their legs and we're working on stabilizing the guard pass, which oftentimes is the hardest thing for people to be able to do, okay? And at that point, it's very important to recognize that he really only has two options, to either turn one way or the other to fight the pass, okay? Let me show you what I'm talking about. So, for instance, it doesn't really matter how I got there, okay? But I managed to get past his legs, and I'm looking to stabilize, all right? Johannes, as everyone else, isn't going to want to let me pin him down flat and stabilize side control. So, he really has two main ways to defend this. To block me and shrimp away and try to get his legs back in, exactly. Or if he feels like he can't beat me this way, defend against me this way, to decide to turn the other way and look to go to his knees, possibly re-roll, something like that, and get his guard back here, okay? So this is going to give me two of our main options that we've been working throughout this series every time, okay? And I'm going to know and understand that, be prepared for that, all right? If I come out and I'm here and he tries to go with option number one, shrimping out and away, you'll see how this naturally puts his legs together on the same side. From here, all I have to do is pin that top knee and transition my way back in the side smash, not allowing him to get back to a complete open guard, continuing our pressure, and just allowing us to get into the place where we want to be in the side smash position and work our way to mount or achieving the submission right here, okay? Or, if he decides to turn away from us, we're going to transition to his back immediately as soon as he gives us the space to insert the hook and look for the sub from here, okay? We've already looked at some combinations on how we put these together, but I really want you guys to understand that the combinations are endless and that they're going to defend one way or the other. So you very much want to prepare yourself for what your move is going to be to shut them down and stop them from being able to completely defend your pass and get back to a good guard for them. Okay guys, so I talked to you about how we understand how he's going to react and putting these passes together in combination, some of which you've already seen maybe doing 2 or 3 passes in combination. Now we're going to really talk about the possibilities here. I'm going to give you guys some examples of how we can bridge not just 2 or 3, but 4 or 5 even 6 of our passing techniques all together to continually keep him one step behind us and allow us just to, take what he's giving us and work our way all the way from being inside his guard to the finish, no matter how many different passes we have to put together to get there, okay? So, just some examples, all right? Let's start off in our headquarters. We go to the side smash position. Okay, get to the side smash. We know he's probably going to escape. We end up back in the butterfly. From here, I'll go back to forcing half guard, working my way to the mount position. I free my knee, drive over. Maybe he gives me defense here from the mount. I end up coming back down, sprawling out, achieving my side smash position. Maybe from here I feel like I want to transition to his back. I circle around. In his attempt to defend, he turns, we insert, get our grips, make our adjustments, and finish with the bow and arrow. Another possibility. In our headquarters, we break grips. We go to our bullfight. We start to move. I see that knee. I look to go stack. He defends. We go to our under overpass. As I try to stabilize, I know how he's going to fight. He's going to shrimp out. I trap his knee. I step into the side smash. He tries to push my neck. I pass, slide up. He stays on his side and gives me the head and arm Ezekiel. Another option, possibility. We work for our butt flop pass. He defends. Once again, we go back to our side smash position. He defends to the butterfly. I use the weave pass control. Heavy. Force him back to the side smash. I see the space. Coming for the head and arm. He hooks my foot. I use it to transition to the back. And once again, finishing with the bow and arrow. So, these are just a few examples of how the techniques that you've learned in this series can all be bridged together, and you can use them in a sequence, okay? And it's so important to drill sequences like what I just showed you guys, okay? Because you know how they're going to react, all right, like I've been saying. And if you can react to their reaction even faster, then they can think of what you're going to do next, then you're always going to stay one step ahead. So if you can drill these sequences and form your own, okay? You may prefer one pass over another, all right? There might be 2 or 3 that you feel the best at, okay? And then from there, you can start to bridge off endless sequences, putting all these passes together and create your own combinations that are going to allow you to stay one step ahead, constantly putting pressure on the person on bottom and allowing you to get to the submission. And your reaction time, your transition speed is going to be so fast. So you can be an expert guard passer and pass people's guards that are even higher ranking than you because you understand how they're going to react.